Topic number one is, oh hell nah, whose woman's is this? Whose woman is this? More alien talk. So we talked about some alien stuff about 2 weeks ago. I guess this is kind of in response to that. So let's have a conversation after we check out the attachment. Crap, wrong thing. So it takes us to YouTube. I don't know how much of this video to play. I don't think it was a timestamp. So I'll play about close to 10 minutes of it, and then we will discuss it.
Greetings, family. Welcome to the African Exodus Show. I'm your host, Tierney Cherie, here to you with a new video. Before we get started, please do, if you have not already, add yourself to my Telegram channel. Telegram is an independent platform that I use to update people when I post videos. YouTube is not very good at giving people notifications, so that's the best way you can stay in the loop. The link to that is down below. So we're going to continue this week with what we talked about last week, which is the Watchers. The Watchers who were fallen angels. They were angels. They were, some of them were archangels. And they actually came down to earth to mate with humankind. So we talked about that in the last video. We're going to continue on talking about not just who they were, but today we're going to talk about what they want. What are they trying to accomplish? Because believe it or not, if you actually look at their actions, not just in scripture, but also with people who have encountered so-called aliens, whenever you look at their actions, you can very well see that they're trying to achieve a certain end and using a certain means to do it. And I believe that that means that the end that they're trying to accomplish is the recreation of what they had at one time when they were able to live as if they were gods. So with that, let's go to the scripture. We're going to start with Ezekiel 28:11. It says, "You were anointed cherub who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of Yahuwah. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your trade, you were internally filled with violence. You sinned. Therefore, I have cast you as profane from the mountain of Yahuwah, and I have destroyed you, you covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was haughty because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. I threw you to the ground. I put you before kings that they may see you. By the multitude of your wrongdoings, in the unrighteousness of your trade, you profaned your sanctuaries. Therefore, I brought fire from the midst of you. It has consumed you, and I have turned you to ashes on the earth in the eyes of all who see." This is talking about, obviously, Lucifer. We know Lucifer, who was in the garden, who was the serpent. He was really the head angel. He was the head cherub. It says that he covered. His responsibility was to be to cover for Yahuwah, and he fell from grace. He fell because of his desire to be like the Almighty. Because of that, he became relegated and today is roaming the earth, seducing people, getting people to turn against each other, doing all types of works of evil. Now, you can obviously infer, because Lucifer was a watcher, he was a archangel, that what he wants must also be what the other watchers want, because Lucifer, as the scriptures say, this is his realm as far as this kingdom that it currently exists. This is the one that he rules. He's being allowed to rule for an amount of time until Yahuwah, until Yeshua comes back and judges him. So it's his realm right now, and all of them, including the Watchers, fall under him. They listen to him. He's the head command. So if this is what he wanted, because he was so bold to profane, he was the one who was in love with his beauty and his splendor. He was the one that was so arrogant and wanting to be praised as if he were the Almighty. Then you can infer that the other Watchers similarly wanted something, one and the same. So let's go to another scripture. If you look at the book of Enoch, thou hast seen what Azaliel has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secret things which are done in the heavens. Verse 6, Samiyaza also taught sorcery, to whom thou hast given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of men, have lain with them, they have become polluted. What you all should understand about the Watchers, they did for a season actually rule. That was what we talked about last week. They were actually ruling over humanity. They, under the direction of Lucifer, who's again the head, the chief of in their realm, they were praised, they were worshipped as being smaller gods to their one god, which was Lucifer. And because of that, they want to live inside of that world again. They want to re-inherit their kingdom. How do I know this? Thou hast seen what Azrael has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secrets which are done in the heavens. Samyaza also taught sorcery, to whom thou hast given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of men, have lain with them, and they have become polluted. They were polluting mankind. They were teaching sorcery. They were teaching things, unknown things that were only known in the heavens. The reason why is this would make them appear as if they were gods. If you have all this knowledge, if you're teaching us all of these ways, then clearly you must be a deity, because these are things that we had no clue about, technology that we would never think about, yet you're unveiling these things to us in the here and now. That's literally what we found out with the Anunnaki, what happened with the Sumerians. They were literally being exposed to so much technology that the automatic assumption was, you must be a god. They were worshipped for that. It also says, though, in Enoch 10:18 through 20, that Yah had to destroy all the souls addicted to dalliance and the offspring of the watchers, for they have tyrannized over mankind. Let every oppressor perish from the earth. Let every evil work be destroyed. So not only were they teaching men things so that they would be extolled as if they were a deity, a god, we also find out that they were oppressing mankind. And this is something that's essential when you understand how Yah's children are treated throughout the earth. We are oppressed throughout the earth. Who is it that's oppressing us? What bloodline is oppressing us? Did their bloodline die out, or is their bloodline still living? Many of the royal families, the monarchs who we know oppressed our people, like the British royal family, like the French, like the Belgians, all of them, you find out that their claim to the throne is having bloodlines that will go directly to the Nephilim or the Watchers. So this tyrannical spirit that has been really ruling over our people, it's not by happenstance that this is what their offspring did. Their offspring were ruling over mankind, were oppressing mankind to allow them to reign as if they were gods. So that should let you know that what they want is not something that's good for us. That should be emphasized. They might say that they want something good for humanity, and that's what you constantly hear from people who have had abductions, that they want to help us, they want to do well by us. No, they want to give us things because they want to be praised as deities. And not only do they want to be praised as deities, they want to rule over man. That's what they've always wanted. So if you remember in Revelations 13:44, this is another clue where you can see, again, Lucifer, who's the head of the Watchers. What did he want? He wanted to be praised as if he was Yah, and he gets to have this for a season of time. It says, Revelations 13:44, they worshiped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who is able to wage war with him? That's another goal. They want to be praised, and they want for Lucifer to ultimately be praised. They are fine sharing the limelight with him. They are fine having their polytheistic religion where they have different gods and then a head god who is going to be Lucifer. So just from that, what do we know about the Watchers? Again, they want to be worshipped. We know that they want to oppress through their seed. They want to oppress us. And we also know that they want us to worship Lucifer. Obviously, they have sexual desires for humans. These are the things that we are seeing. Now, how do we know that this is their agenda as far as what we encounter with them? Let's read through 2 articles of people giving details of some of the things people have experienced with these beings. So first article, space aliens are breeding with humans, says a university instructor. Maybe you've never seen any space aliens, but recent polls indicate up to 6% of Americans claim to have been abducted by them, which is pretty significant. The experience doesn't sound pleasant. The extraterrestrials are often said to have taken their captives to their saucers, lay them out on a table, and extract sperm from the man and impregnate the woman. If you're familiar with UFO lore, you know there are a couple of common explanations for these breeding experiments. One is the aliens are in a reproductive bind on their home world. That's not it, by the way. They can no longer successfully procreate and have come to Earth to use humans as incubators to spawn alien offspring. The other is that aliens are reproducing hybrid beings that will somehow help them take over our planet. That one, I believe, is the truth. Scientists, of course, are dubious of such claims. After all, there's never been any good evidence that the abductions are taking place. No one ever seems to bring along cell phone footage. Why would they allow a cell phone on a spaceship? I don't know. Instructor at the University of Oxford in England believes that the abductions are real. Young Hae Chi, who teaches Korean at the university and also claims to know that what the aliens have in mind. In lectures given at the university, he says they're creating alien human hybrids as a hedge against, wait for it, climate change. To support this unorthodox theory, Chi notes that for several decades, the number of reported alien abductions have risen. He bases his statement on the work of David Jacobs, a retired Temple University historian who has published several books of ufology and who runs the International Center on Abduction Research. Jacobs has interviewed more than 1,000 people who have claimed to have been abducted using hypnotic regression that apparently allows them to recall their unearthly encounters with aliens. I do want to emphasize something about this hypnosis. So there are different ways that people have been able to encounter watchers. Some have encountered them from meditating. In this case, hypnosis, that's one way. Another way is drugs, certain drugs like DMT. Those drugs are known to put people in states where they encounter these beings. So there are different ways that they know how to do this. And this goes back to what we learned in Enoch. Again, what did they use to teach people? They used the sorcery. That's how people are able to encounter them. Many interesting videos online where you see people who are actually able to conjure these things up through sorcery. So using hypnotic regression, it apparently allows them to recall their unearthly encounters with aliens. It says that she makes the claim that at face value and links the growing number of abductees cataloged by Jacobs to an increase in atmospheric greenhouse gases. He doesn't imply a cause and effect. The abduction experiment is not responsible for global warming. Rather, it's a reaction. The extraterrestrials are producing hybrids that can better withstand the rigors of a terrestrial planet by producing a new model of Homo sapiens. This project would eliminate the need for difficult climate accords or elaborate geoengineering projects. It would also help the aliens themselves, who said to be living among us, by preserving their DNA. Now, again, that's not true, clearly. I wanted to use that article because that actually is something that a lot of people believe is that they want to help us prevent.
Let's end that there. Yeah, that was a little bit uncomfortable for me. First, the religious zealotry, and then tying that in with aliens is some. Isn't there a black guy in this? I guess you could call the conscious space on YouTube. Isn't there a black guy who's running a grift about aliens and owning alien artifacts and building underground cities and stuff like that? If any of you know the name of that guy, just shout it out. But there's a guy doing some Billy something, I think is his name, doing some real weird stuff like that. And I'm surprised with this sister because I didn't know she was on this religion and all this type of stuff. So it's very, 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 very strange. Um, Kevin Carray, what say you to what you just witnessed there?
I couldn't. Thank God I had my mic muted. I couldn't help but laugh at this. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I mean, where does she get her that good weed she's smoking, man? Damn. She just lost me after a while, man. It just sounded like blabber after a while. I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? And you're right, all this Book of Enoch and all this, it just turned me off, man. Like, yo, what? How come these aliens haven't kidnapped me yet? I've not been violated by these aliens. Have you? I really don't know how to explain this. So I'm gonna have to pass the mic here to the rest
Yeah,
of the panel.
don't. Thank you for that, but don't put me in that. I ain't trying to be probed by no alien. But this shit is wild. Yeah, KW Don Seven and Marcus McGee. Shout out to them. They both gave me the name Billy Carson. That's the guy who's doing this foolishness these days. Um, Black Steel. I see they were associating her socialism or being a socialist with you.
Hey
What's
man,
the story?
please leave the good name of socialism out of this conversation, please. This lady. So, so I believe it was Voltaire who said, "If you can be made to believe absurdities, you can be made to commit atrocities." So this, much of what she's saying is absurd. But this is what happens when you take a book like the Bible, you take religious scriptures as, actual history, actual science. You have to divorce yourself from reality to create these scenarios. And then it's funny to me how she's created this whole mythology behind fallen ones and, Anunnaki, and they're trying to fight climate change because you're not dealing with reality. Because when you deal with reality, you have to come up with solutions rooted in reality. We're not oppressed because of aliens. We are oppressed because we are out organized and we're not combating the real issues in our society. It's not no aliens. It's not no Anunnaki. She's talking about um, you know, ruling families like the king and queen of England, all that other nonsense. These people don't have any type of magical power. There's no type of ancient technology. I've seen Stargate. I've seen all those movies. We have to be able to separate reality from fiction. And I think that is the reason why religion is so dangerous, because it only takes a little push till you end up like this. Um, so it's really concerning that this woman is I'm assuming she has some type of she has some type of following, but it really just seems that she's taken this religion wholeheartedly. She swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. So she's looking for solutions in a book that was made over hundreds of years by dozens of authors, um, all type of different historical periods. It contradicts themselves. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she was a flat earther, because it does say in the Bible the earth does not move. It sits on four pillars. So I'm pretty sure she's probably a flat earther on top of that. She probably believes in a full 7-day creation. The world was made in 7 days, 24-hour periods. There was a Garden of Eden where you put two men and two women in a magical garden with talking animals and magical fruit, and it's the whole reason women suffer. It's ridiculous when you look at it from a thinking mind, but that is what religion provokes, and it is very deliberate too. Um, that this type of indoctrination is pushed among African people because because we look for solutions in the supernatural. We're willing to suffer in this life with the hope that we're going to have a better life in the world to come. So we have to wait until we die to where we start to see some real solutions. So this is nonsense. Um, old girl might be too far gone, you know, I'm not into, some people like that whole kinky stuff, aliens probing you in your asshole. I don't get down like that. But yeah, she's watched too many sci-fi movies. But this religion is so harmful. We have to really be careful about it. And anything given to you by your enemies is not going to be for you. We all, many here, I hear these religious people talk about how Christianity was in Africa, but they're Baptists and they're Methodists and they're Episcopalians and Catholic. These Christian denominations they belong to originate in Europe, but yet they're sitting here and say Christianity started in Africa. We gotta put the make believe behind us. I've said too much. I'll go ahead and
Nah, you're good, Carl. You're good. You're good. You said just the right types of things. Brother Bakari, I see you trying to get on, but it's saying that your device is not connected. So pop on and come back on. All right, there's space up here for you to join. This sister, I remember she used to be heavy on Twitter, and for some reason, I don't see anything from her. I don't know if I blocked her or something, but I never knew that she was so heavily Christian. KW Dawn says she was always a Christian. I didn't know that. It's weird, but the thing about that religion, to Carl's point, that stuff forces you to have to fit it into all types of and like to make that work. All types of and like to make that work. Yeah, to make that work, you have to. Yeah, to make that work, you have to. Hold on, someone's giving me feedback. Who is that? Yeah, to make that work, you have to go through so many. Jump through so many hoops. And one thing in the Bible, it says, "In the abundance of water, the fool thirsts." And I always wonder how come more people of those Abrahamic faith, particularly Christianity, how many people read that and never question the shit that they supposedly so staunch in believing. It's weird. Is where in with all this evidence in the world, the earth is not set on 4 pillars, right? The concept of a day wasn't around when it said this guy took 7 days, 6 days, and on the 7th day. It's just weird. It's weird. It's weird. I wish our people would really shake that shit off of them. But I've said too much now. Let me go to Buana. Buana, what say you?
Let me first say that African Esquire, from the time I've been listening to her, I may not agree with her positions on the political side of the game, economic side of the game, but I always thought that she was a brilliant sister, and I can't take that away from her. But I love my Pan Africanist brothers and sisters. People who have even the Christian ones and the Muslim ones, the socialist ones, all the ones who I may not agree with. I love them. I respect them and I love them and I honor them. But what I would tell them is to stay with the pain. Stay with the pain. Don't go away from the pain. And what I mean by that is some of our brothers and sisters on a Pan-Africanist point of view, they tend to go off into the spiritual realm. They want to escape their pain of reality. The pain of reality, because life sometimes can be difficult. And our situations may seem insurmountable. So for some of us, where our issues would seem so insurmountable, they tend to go off into the spiritual realm. I call it escapism. But I say stay with the pain, deal with the reality, and try to solve the real problems that is befalling people who look just like me and you. Because if you go into the fantasy realm, all you are doing is putting shit on shit. You know what I mean? I just think that we need to be able to deal with the pain in the natural world, in the real world. And I think that some of us too much we go for the trick of escapism with spirituality and all manner of nonsense. And this is just another form of it. This is just another form. It's sad to know that such a brilliant sister could go off into these kinds of ideas and thinking, but there's many of us like that. And we left that. That's something that we leave. We leave that behind with our grandmothers and dads and uncles and granddads. This is the next generation, this is the next iteration. And I think that we should get away from the escapism that they fell into and move forward, looking at the real world and try to solve the natural world's problems rather than resorting to escapism. So I would suggest that we should stay with the pain until we resolve what is ailing us in the real world. And even though I could be taking shots at her, but she ain't no different from my mommy, who believe that a white man gonna come out of the sky one day. You know what I mean? So I mean, how could I get that? Our grandmothers, them, they die believing that they going to live in some palatial place when they cross over and transition. So I say to my brothers and sisters, um, who have our particular view and brand, to stay with the pain and deal with the real world's problems and issues of the natural world. Because there is a blessing in that, in dealing with what is befalling you currently as you exist right now. Don't go off into the escape world. So I'll stop there just to be brief.
Appreciate it, Juana. I will say though that I think just because our recent ancestors did a thing doesn't mean that we have to continue it. And I think because we have that soft spot in us for our grannies and what have you, grandfathers and whatnot, we kind of let certain things ride. But at some point, we have to stand up and face this thing and challenge it. I think, and push back. I mean, some of us are already, but I think we shouldn't give it a pass just because of sentimentality. Um, let's welcome in Brother Bakari. Bakari, I was going to text you today. I haven't seen you in a minute. I was going to check in to see if you was good. How are you this week?
Oh man, everything is everything. How y'all doing on the panel
I'm
and in
good,
the
man.
chat?
What's up, Uncle B? What's up?
What's
What's up,
going
man?
on,
Greetings,
man?
greetings.
Hey, look, man. I just saw an Anunnaki mowing my neighbor yard. Look like a Mexican though. That's the alien I see. Look, man. I used to watch this sister. I used to listen to her sometimes. She has some good stuff, but man, we got to get past this Anunnaki stuff. Look, it is so crazy, right? When we get on this alien stuff, and a lot of us, we don't even understand. They talk about all those aliens to take away what black folks have done. I was talking to one of my friends, and she's a diehard believer in this ish. And I asked her, I said, who built the Great Wall of China? The Chinese. I say, so who built the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Wherever the hell they're at. The people over there. So then I say, so who built the pyramids in Egypt? The Anunnaki, the ancient aliens. I'm like, God damn. Pardon me, I'm sorry about that. I'm like, so what you saying is the Chinese can build, white people can build. I say, who built these mud huts who built these pyramids and these mounds over here? The Native Americans. I said, so the Native Americans can build. But when it comes to black people, anything that we have done, an alien, something you have never seen, anything can get the credit except us. It gets funny to me. And I know the religious thing that we talk about, but one thing that I learned, like I don't care if they have a religion or not, if they talk to me. And I heard what Coco just said. We have a soft spot for our parents and granny and whatnot. But has anyone ever sat down and talked to their parents? I had older parents. Most people my age, their parents not old as mine, but I'm 51. But y'all ever sat down and talked to any of y'all parents? Any of the older people in your family about Christianity? And I did. It was one thing that I learned when I would ask my mama certain questions. I knew my daddy didn't believe it the way most people did, but later on in life, when I got a little older, I would ask my mama. And then I realized she truly didn't. She went to church. She believed in Jesus, but she truly didn't believe in all of that stuff. When we sat down and hold these conversations, and when I would ask, it's a lot of stuff in that book that, and I'm just speaking from my personal experience, that she just didn't agree with, right? And when we talk and we say Christianity was beat on us, Yes, majority of us in this country was. But do y'all know who Juan Garrido is? If you study Juan Garrido, Christianity was not beat into all Africans. That's a mental problem that black people have. We just believe anything spiritual. We believe that stuff. Juan Garrido came here around 1500 with the Portuguese. That's who bought wheat to Mexico. He was not a slave. He was a seller. He bought his troops here with him with the Portuguese troops. They conquered Mexico. They taught the Mexicans how to yield wheat. But Juan Garrido was his Christian name. He chose Christianity. He gave up his African spiritual belief and he chose Christianity. It wasn't beat. It wasn't beat in people like him. They were just able, they were just convinced that somebody was able to convince them that their God was more powerful than his God. So he chose that. And he traveled with them and he joined his military. Like I said, he helped the Portuguese conquer Mexico, took land from the native Mexicans. And then the Portuguese got mad with him because he didn't enslave Mexicans. When he got his part of the land, he brought the Mexicans in and told them that he didn't enslave them. But that's not the point. The point is nobody beat it in him. So I think some of our people, maybe, I know during slavery, I know what happened during slavery, but the way it got there, people coming with their missionaries, was it actually beaten to us? Or should we start to look in the, because today we're easily tricked. Today we're easily tricked. Just look at the hustlers and scammers on social media. People can say something that sound good or feel good to black people, and you will find black people just getting all on board something that they'll and don't have to do no work. They're not accountable, right? So with that being said, like I agree with what Matron just put in that chat. Religion is an economy organizing tool. And yes, we don't use it properly, and we should. But the alien thing, the Anunnaki, that's just crazy to me, man. She's the Christian slash Hebrew slash alien follower slash socialist. She's all she's all of the stuff that Bawana would say is wrong. I get it, right?
I appreciate that, Bakari. I like this comment Trigger dropped. Conversion can be through direct and indirect means, all a means of power. Yeah, I think some of our people did choose to give up, African spirituality because, you know, there's also this thing called mass and peer pressure, and other people have made the switch. Maybe there's something to it, and I think a lot of us probably did that as well. Thanks for that, Bakari.
Can I say something right quick? You just said peer pressure. Please give me 2.5 seconds or 2.75 seconds. Dr. King, if you read what he wrote in school, his paper he wrote in school, the only reason Martin Luther King became a Christian was basically out of peer pressure. Martin Luther King wrote, he didn't believe that stuff. If you go back and you can read his dissertation in college, he talked about how he didn't believe that, but his daddy was a preacher, his mom and dad believed, his sister and his brothers, they believed, and he was the only one that didn't. And he didn't want to be the only one that didn't. He said that's the only reason, that's the only reason he became one. So I just wanted to say that because when you mentioned peer pressure.
Yeah,
I
no, that's
wanna I wanna add to that too. Also, what Brother Bakari say. Another reason a lot of our people converted to Christianity is, remember now, the laws in the British colonies made it illegal for us to practice our religions. So if that had not happened, you would see more of religion, African spirituality still being practiced in the Sulu British colonies. I think that the Code Noir was in the French colonies, but that's neither here nor there.
Thank you for that, Juana. I think that leaves us with Oni, right? Oni, what say you to everything you've seen and heard?
Man, that sounds some crazy stuff. I don't know where. I don't understand. Now, granted, I'm not trying to say nothing about nobody's wife. You know what I'm saying? Just in case I'm walking through Ghana one day. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. But that's like I'm at a loss for words. So this is a famous, not famous, but pretty well-known socialist. We Charge Colonialism is a pretty big site. I'm starting to think Black Steel is a native alien hybrid. Because she was talking about how the aliens bred with people, and created people that would deny them and doubt them. But for real though, actually, I agree with what Black Steel said about when you could believe in absurdities, you can commit atrocities. This is why, I can't mess with religion. I cannot mess with the religions. I'm currently I currently am, looking into the religions and spiritual systems, and I do think they're diametrically different. I think this thing is pseudoscientific scamming. I think most of the religions are pseudoscientific scamming. I agree with Brother Bakari in that, some people make good of bad. You know what I mean? But I think that's I think there's a lot of bad things that people make good of. Like politics, they make good of it. Gangsters, they make good of it. Whatever. But at the end of the day, I think that these religions are they're always ridiculous. She just puts the ridiculous front and center. I think I said it today, but I think the premise of these religions are that there are some people who can contact aliens and they can contract with these aliens. And if you do not give them your money, if you don't give them 10% of your income, right, as tithes, then these aliens will burn you in your afterlife. That's really the premise of religion, but we don't say it like that. We say, oh, God, and so it's different. But you're like, well, is God from Earth? No. So that if God's not from Earth, this God isn't. If this God is not from Earth, this God is an extraterrestrial, right? And what's an extraterrestrial? You know what I mean? So, and then it's like, why is somebody burning you after you die? You know what I mean? Like that's not the right time for you to be burned. But that's the insanity that's global. That's the insanity that's global. And it leads to just a bunch of ridiculousness, because I think you have to dismiss astronomy. You have to dismiss biology. You have to be pseudoscientific. And when you're pseudoscientific, you end up with this kind of that's not really how aliens work. They're not really. And it's like, no, there's no extraterrestrials. You know what I mean? There's no extraterrestrials that you can communicate with by closing your eyes and thinking. It's craziness. So I think and I mean, I guess we did have this conversation last week, right? But I think we have to we have to come to terms with this is where people are going. And sure, you can do a lot of good things on this earth while not understanding science. That's fine. But I think it's better to understand science. And I'm going to contrast this with African spiritual systems. When you look at African spiritual systems, they actually were scientific. You know what I mean? It seems more like anthropomorphizations of scientific principles than it was just random googok. Oh, I talked to aliens. And I'm not saying that nobody believed that that prayer could work, because I know I have an example of Taharka giving a prayer, but for the most part, it was pretty scientific. That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that, Oni. Does anyone want to add any last thoughts to this prompt?
Yeah, I want to say one thing really quickly. As conditions get worse, you're going to see more of this. As you know, as the environment, as the economy starts to get worse and worse, you're going to see more people start to lean into the supernatural. Religion is the opiate of the masses. So a lot of people are going to start overdosing on this type of stuff. No, Brother Bakari, social is not a bigger form of Christianity. Stop the chat, please.
Socialism. Oh, that was just to mess with you, brother Steve. Black Steve. But I think a lot of people choose it, especially today or after slavery, when black people really start getting into it. Shit, for some of them, that was their way. They was hoping somebody was gonna come down and fight their battle because they couldn't. And when I say couldn't, they couldn't because it was illegal for them to get weapons or whatever. So they were put in a position to believe that Jesus would come down and save you. And yeah, they're gonna burn you if you go to hell. But on the flip side of that, with what our ancestors went through slavery and after slavery, Jim Crow and all that, they were like, somewhere got to be better than this. So yeah, they was hoping they go to heaven because they was hoping for something better. Yeah, it sounds crazy when you say it and you think about it that people still believe that. But in a sense, you find black people today still hoping for something better. It's hard being black in this world. And I'll say especially this country, because this is the country I live in. If you find the two black people in Sweden or Norway, they probably would say the same thing. You understand? The 24 black people in Russia would say the same thing because it's hard being black in this world. So black people is hoping for something better. But you know, heaven is right here. You know, I tell people heaven is Africa. And they ask me, how can I come to that conclusion? I say, well, when you read the Bible, the streets of heaven is paved with diamonds and gold. Shit, who got more diamonds and gold in Africa? That got to be what they were talking about when they said heaven, the streets. They got to be talking about Africa because ain't no streets up in the sky. And ain't talking about it paved with diamonds and gold. That's literally, ain't that Africa? They still got the diamonds, gold everywhere. Y'all remember the mountain they just found in the Congo, the mountain in Uganda with all the gold? We know about all the diamond mines. So I just say, you know, Africa is actually heaven. And in all honesty, most of our people that's praying for heaven here in America, in the diaspora, we actually ignores heaven for some in the sky when you die. And on that note, socialism needs to relax.
Black Steel. I want to swan to Black Steel for a minute. Black Steel in the South. He in Florida. Black
Yep.
Steel he knows about third degree hurricanes. When you get a hurricane coming at your face, you can't pray that away. You can't hope it go past you. It's gonna hit you. And you gotta prepare for that shit. You gotta batten down the hatches and you gotta prepare for it. In fact, after it passes, you can't pray for the cleanup either. You gotta get out the hammer, you gotta get out the nails, and you gotta fix what's decimated your society. It's the same kind of concept when you get enemies at your door front. You can't pray them away. They ain't going away. They ain't going away. You have to prepare for when they come, and you have to prepare for after they leave. You know what I mean? This praying something. I go ask the Haitians about praying that the earthquake don't hit them. Ask them why Jesus ain't help them with the earthquake. No, when it hit them, and the result was what the result was, and after the fact, they had to deal with the cleanup. No sky god or President Clinton or what they've been doing, no one is going to deal with that problem. They have to deal with that problem front and center. And so do we. And if we go into escapism, the mess could be right there after we done dance around the church, pray, have a good old time at the sanctuary. When we come back home, we're going to still meet a decimated house where we have to rebuild. So these are things that we have to actively prepare for as human beings on this planet. You know what I mean? I can't pray for someone who's outside of this planet to come and rescue me from my problems. So this is the issue that I have sometimes with the escapists. Stay with the pain. That's what I think.
I appreciate everything everyone said here, and I agree with Buana and Bakari about that pain thing. I think when you lose and lose badly, I think you start grasping at air, and I think the way forward is you have to show where African spirituality in modern day, under these conditions, where you have to show some wins with that spirituality, because that's what happens with the Christianity. I talked about that before on the podcast, that when you see Creflo Dollar and these guys with expensive cars and jets and all this kind of stuff, people who are in those faiths, they look at those guys and say, man, look at God. He's killing it because of this belief. When we have folks, particularly folks on the continent, who are staunch believers in some or a few or whatever African spiritualities, and we're changing the conditions, like Ketter said right there in that comment. When we start changing those conditions, and the person or the persons who are at the forefront of that change are attributing their actions and their abilities to African spirituality, that's when you're going to change this shit. You know what I mean? That's when people are going to say, you know what? Maybe there's something to this stuff. You know, and I hope that day comes sooner rather than later. Is there any other last thoughts on this prompt? All right. Let's go to shoot the resource to number 2. That was a real good discussion from everyone there.